But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
You did. A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
That's right, Mr. Brush-Walsh. How you doing, everybody, today? My name is Everett Delorme. That's Rob St. Clair. This is the 9x9. I don't know why I'm talking like this.
Why are you talking like this?
I'm going to go with it. This is the 81 square meters of the best volleyball on the internet. It is Tuesday, March 4th, episode 146. I was going to say that there is a lot of stuff going on, Rob, as we've got multiple leagues wrapping up. We've got the playoffs coming, more Champions League going down, of course, plenty of stuff, the USA. Where do you want to start right now?
Oh, great question. First of all, I apologize to the people if I don't sound great. I'm fighting off a bit of a cold. Hopefully the medicine I took before this kicks in and gets me through this thing, but we're going to fight through it, and we're going to talk about some ball, and I want to start in Italy, Everett. I want to start in Italy. I think that that's where the drama is this week. Pending maybe some Champions League later this, like tomorrow. We'll talk about Champions League later. I want to talk about Italy. I want to talk about the conclusion of the men's SuperLega regular season, because even though we went into it knowing who the 8 playoff teams were, there was still drama at the top. Trentino stole the 1 seed, and there was extra drama at the bottom.
There was extra drama at the bottom. Is my Wi-Fi really bad?
It's excellent.
Am I looking? Okay, no, that's people. The chat is saying so. So that's what I'm
I think they're saying that your setup is improved because you're running the laptop. It looks and sounds great to me. So
okay, fair enough. But yeah, basically, it was wild. If you haven't seen that clip yet of Monza winning and the elation of them running around the court and saving their season by the slimmest of margins, you should definitely go check it out. Big shout out to the boys. We've got our American favorites and Taylor Averill and Jordan Urut who showed up late as well. But Rob, how do you feel overall about Monza? Just barely getting by.
That's a great question. I think we'll talk about Toronto in a minute because they did get relegated, and it was by the narrowest of margins, and it was very dramatic in the fifth in both matches. Monza, obviously, their franchise has a better chance to be competitive, and therefore it would have been a big loss for the league to lose them for next season, because obviously they have shown that they can be extremely competitive. I mean, they went all the way to the finals last year. So I'm happy.
Not to mention what they do on the women's side too.
Right. Like, and then,
it should be arguably one of the best organizations within volleyball, period.
I think it's between, like off the top of my head, them and Fenerbahce for a men's and women's volleyball club that are that good on both sides. And volleyball needs that. The sport really needs that. So from that perspective, it's a good thing that Monza is staying next year. However, this particular team compared to Toronto's particular team this year, this Monza team deserved to get relegated more, in my opinion, for just the disaster class in roster construction that has been this team throughout the entire year. Just a miserable job by their front office with the resources that they usually have. Whereas Toronto, I really feel for, because they got the absolute most out of what they have every year since they've been in the SuperLega. I think, as I can put Toronto up on screen here too, I think the representation in Southern Italy is important. We don't have enough of that. So losing Toronto down south is a bummer. And just like that club is getting every single bit out of what they have. They clearly didn't have a huge amount of a budget. They managed to stay in the SuperLega for at least 3, maybe 4 seasons. And
I can't remember.
Something like that. Losing them it's a bummer. I don't think that it was a team that was put together poorly. It's just a team that
they don't necessarily have the same budget.
Right? No, they don't. And they did the best they could with the cards that they were dealt. But as far as like making the SuperLega for years to come, like good and competitive and relevant with teams with high budgets and all of that, I guess it does make long-term sense for Toronto to be the team that was relegated, but it is a bummer. I do feel for them. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll have to see if, in terms of the Southern thing, we'll have to see who comes up from the basement. I'm trying to check on the Lega Volley website right now, but it's giving.
I'm getting the same thing.
Is it like? I almost wonder if that's like being attacked or hacked, because it said like it wasn't safe to go in. It's
there's
super
some
weird.
kind of like privacy error going on with the Lega Volley website. So
Okay,
that
glad to know it's not just me over here. But
for the moment, we can't look at any stats, which is very bad timing. But we can talk about the stories. I mean, the way that it all came down to the wire on Sunday with with Toronto going to the 5th set against Verona at home. Toronto had been up 2-1. They knew the stakes. If they won that 5th set, they were staying. As soon as they lost that 5th set, then Monza, who had just started their 5th set at home against Cisterna, everybody in the arena knew and noticed when the Toronto score went final. And that's kind of what made that day really interesting. So then it gets,
and the arena was packed too.
It
Like
absolutely
really credit to the Monza fans and just to be there and to be there to egg on your team in the final push. Like, you have every right to be bitter and just be like, screw this team. Like, from like the elation of last season to the downfall of this season. Like, have you ever seen that? Like, you narrowly miss out on winning a Scudetto. You go on this crazy run, you go to the Scudetto finals, and then next year you narrowly, by the narrowest of margins, because not only someone in the Discord broke it down perfectly. Like, how many Olympians do you have on this team? How many legends do you have on this team? And it took a no name called up from A2 to be able to push them through through this final. And I can't even remember his name. And
Frostia, I think.
Yeah,
I want to pull up his stats, but the website's not letting me.
Yeah, even all of the stats that I had like lined up and like kept in stash, like all of my tabs are all busted right now for Lega Volley. It's so weird. But yeah, like some random A2 player comes up and saves the day for them. And you know what? Good for them. As you said, they're a bigger club, and that's. But I think we've spent too much time on the relegation race now. Rob, do you have anything else to say about?
Just I also wanted to give credit to both Cisterna and Verona for playing as hard as they could in those two matches. Like, Cisterna had nothing to play for. They had nothing to play for at all. And they put on an awesome show against Monza, which brought crazy drama. And really the same for Verona. They didn't have much to play for. And there was a call, it was the end of either the 3rd or the 4th set. I can't remember which. A call on set point that gave Toronto the set.
I think that's within Verona's team's identity.
Definitely,
right? And especially when you have like the Rock has always, and like the Rock loves Verona, right? Like, he has been there for years. He's been their golden boy for years. Of course, Keita. Like, those are your two centers of your team are two emotional guys, right? So they really play to the crowd, and like they play one speed all the time, and that's 100%.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see them in the playoffs. I kind of got the stats to load. It was Diego Froscio, opposite from the B division, which is like the 4th tier of Italian volleyball, comes up and goes 13 for 26.
Yeah, that's still wild.
It's
still
unbelievable.
Absolutely wild, though. So it'll be interesting to see which Monza players stay around. Like, if you're this Monza team, especially when it comes up, because like, do they have anything left?
So they have the pleasure of getting 6-donged in Champions League by Perugia, and then they're done.
That's so funny. That's
so hilarious.
Imagine if they had been relegated and then had to play a Champions League quarterfinals. Imagine if they beat Perugia in the Champions League. Okay,
sounds very similar to what's going on the women's side, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It shows the Mickey Mouse-ness of CEV this year, that these terrible like Italian teams that are either getting relegated or close in both their leagues are competitive in the CEV across the board. It's not great, but enough about the relegation race, Everett. I agree with you. It's playoff time. It is now time. It is
playoffs.
Playoffs. You kidding me?
Playoffs?
It is time for the playoffs. Trentino steals the 1 seed because Perugia dropped, like, they were up in set 3. They were up 2-0 against Piacenza. Ended up dropping the set that ended up giving the tiebreaker to Trentino on set record. So the bracket is set. Number 1, Trentino versus number 8, Cisterna. Number 2, Perugia versus number 7, Modena. Number 3, LOVB versus number 6, Milano. And a spicy one, number 4, Verona versus number 5 Piacenza. Best of 5 match series across the board starting this weekend. I am so excited for all of these.
Honestly, I think these are going to be some decent matchups too. Trentino, Cisterna, whatever. Like just put that off the book.
Yeah, that's the
the
least interesting for sure.
Like we'll see if like what is it, Jordy Ramon and like Teofora can do anything special. But like I expect both of them put up some decent numbers. Honestly, I expect it to be a little bit entertaining. Right? Like I expect it to be maybe entertaining. I wish I had the website to be able to look at their head to head, but I don't. But every other one, like Perugia and Modena, you'd think it's going to be boring, but I have a feeling that is going to be interesting, just because of the history between those two clubs and kind of the rivalry between all of it. I feel like Modena's going to, even if they get donged in the series, that they're going to find ways to make it interesting, especially when they're at Palapinini.
I think is that. Yeah, I agree with you.
You know,
there.
like
that's the key.
You know, a little bit of DeCecco magic. And although, did I see something that he? Oh, I'm not gonna go get into that. But yeah, a little bit of DeCecco magic.
Modena did pick up Nicolas Uriarte, like the old Argentinian legend, like brought him in to be the backup just for.
Yeah. That's what I was.
Stretch.
That's what I was thinking. I heard it kind of in the background from a YouTube video I was working yesterday.
That did happen. He is there, which was an interesting.
Okay, that's like a nice addition, but it's like a late season addition for like what's probably going to be a 3-game series. Are these 3-game series or best of 5?
It's best of 5 match series, but it very well could be just a 3-game series. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Luciano DeCecco is the key. If Modena has any chance, he's got to have every bit of that DeCecco magic that we've seen for LOVB's championship runs, for Argentina's bronze medal run. Like, he has to be the absolute best version of himself for them to steal a match from Perugia. It would probably be at the Paul Panini. I agree with you, but I don't see them having any answer for Perugia's service pressure.
No, it's going to have to take, and this is why I think it's going to happen to the Palapinini, just because you're going to have the fans right on him. It's going to be loud, right? Something's going to break there, and someone's going to catch fire on Modena, and it's going to happen. But I still call Perugia 3-1 in this. I don't think.
Yeah, I think Perugia 3-1 at worst for Perugia.
Yeah, at worst.
LOVB versus Milano is kind of an interesting one. I'm kind of low on Milano. I find them to be pretty one-dimensional. But Ferry Ragers, I mean, you and I both were looking at some end-of-season stats today, and on both the men's and the women's sides. We'll talk about some of those in a couple weeks. But Ferry Ragers' numbers on the year were unreal. Like, he was clearly the second best opposite in the league, and Milano's chances completely rest on his shoulders in this series.
For sure. And that's kind of where I think that stylistically that these two teams might actually, okay, maybe not. I mean, right now it is what did they play? Coppa Italia. They played a Coppa Italia and went to 5.
Right.
And then LOVB won the second round, but Milano did win the first round. So it's 2-1 on the season series, but I do think that stylistically, if Milano can have the ability to play their game, I think the big if is what happens like on the left side for Milano in these matches, right? Like Ragers is going to be good, Poro is going to be Poro, but like can Matej Kaczynski show up? Who else is on Milano? Why am I blanking on this?
Yassine Luati, Davide
Gardini. I'm not too inspired by any of those guys, but it really depends on what lineup LOVB brings out there, right? I think that if LOVB brings out their traditional lineup with Lagumja on the right side, they have less of a chance, right? And I think if you're just going to get into a straight right side versus right side, like slug it out battle, I'm going to take Ragers over Lagumja for sure.
I agree with you there.
But if you're going to throw Nikolov on the right side, or maybe because I've heard Nikolov doesn't want to play there, throw Lepke on the right side and Nikolov on the left, and let them run that 3 outside hitter system, I think you're going to have you're going to have a much better chance at beating Milano like 3-0 in this series if you just play that like freestyled open wheeling, because it's too new school and our good buddy Piazza won't be able to adjust to it.
I'm 100% with you there. I think LOVB's best chance to do some damage in the playoffs is with a little bit more of a versatile look and lineup configuration, and see if they can catch teams unprepared, especially against Milano. I totally agree. If they're just like, if it's a high ball battle of Legumja versus Regers, I think that Regers wins.
Yeah.
But Lube has a lot more tools, a lot more pieces. I think they're a lot better down the middle. I do like the center battle, Bonifante versus Poro. That's kind of fun. See how they feed off of each other in a 5-match best of 5 series. But I've got Lube 3-1.
I got Lube in 5.
Okay.
I think this one might push a little bit, just because I think it'll be fun. And then
last but certainly
not least, if you had 2 teams that had the personnel for fireworks to happen, it would be these 2 teams, right? Like, this is going to be a very interesting situation. I'm almost sad that Anastasi's gone, because you know that you'd love just to see Anastasi against Stoichev in this situation.
That
right?
would have been the funniest
thing. Absolutely know that at a certain point, there's going to be some talking at the net, and there's going to be some stuff going on. And we had some stuff going on this week, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later.
Yes,
but
we will.
You know that there's going to be some jawing at the net sometimes. You know the boys are going to be talking, and you absolutely know that if Anastasi would be sitting there with his clipboard and be like, and Stoichev would be like, give him the what for, and slapping his thighs like, oh man, I could absolutely see it 100% in my head. But I think this one has all the possibilities of being a banger. And in all honesty, Rob, I see this one as a old versus new. You've got the old guard. You've got Simon. You've got Brizal. You've got Steven Marr. Right, you've got Kovacevic, which, like, I hope he doesn't even see the court. I hope he's just buried to the bottom of the bench. But you've got these guys who have been amongst the best in the past 6-7 years, longer if you're Simon.
They've got the pedigree that awards them the Piacenza contract, which is how Piacenza
100%.
builds their teams.
Yeah, we're going to give you a lot of money, and we're not actually going to think about how pieces fit together. However, on the
Galassi, Romano, yeah, absolutely, those guys with that pedigree.
Yeah, 100%. Like these are all established guys. And I'm not saying that Verona's side isn't established, but like the Rock isn't even a starter on Slovenia.
True.
Right? You know, like
Namori Keita's from Mali.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is a different style of team and a different way of approaching things. And it's also the last ride for this team, right? Like, this team for Verona is breaking up after this. And I want to see what happens. No, so we know. Like, I know you don't want to talk about transfers, but we know what's happening with this team next year. So like, this is the last ride, and this is a fun team to watch. And we've seen what they can do. Like, if there's one team that's a dark horse in this competition, it has to be Verona. There's no doubt about it.
I agree, but the volatility of this matchup makes it really hard to predict. I mean, the serving firepower of both these teams, that's really hard to predict if you have a good day or a bad day from the baseline. I mean, on the season, Verona has beaten Piacenza 3 times, 3-0 and 3-0 in the regular season, but a 5-setter in the cup. So I think really anything is possible here. Piacenza needs to be the best version of themselves. They need to exercise a lot of the stoogery. They need to serve the ball well, and they need good opposite play. That is huge. And how does, like, Ljubomir Travica, the new head coach, like, how does he deal with the push and pull of Romano and Bovalenta? Because, like, Anastasi was having, like, the quickest yanks of all time for either of those 2 guys. And then on the Verona side, how far can Namori Keita carry you? How well can Jordan Ewert play? Because he's probably going to be the second left side. And then can they hang in the middle? I think Piacenza's definitely got an advantage there.
I think I kind of disagree with that. I think
you don't think Simone and Galassi are better than Zingle and either, like, Cortesia or Vitelli? That's like, Zingle's playing awesome, and he's perfect for the team. I know,
Calves. It's Calves. Marco Calves. Show some respect. Here's the thing: is that I think on paper both of those middles are better, 100%. But we still haven't seen that Brizov and Simone synergy that really works out well. Right? Like, we haven't quite seen that yet. We know that Galassi is an absolute up and down player. And he hasn't been. He's another guy who, there's like both Mar and Galassi are lesser versions on them of themselves than they were last year with Monza on this Piacenza team.
That's just
right?
the Piacenza effect.
That's 100% just the Piacenza effect, but it's a fact of the matter, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think that, and I'm a Marco Calvez guy, I think that he comes in with timely points. And I think, honestly, Aiden Zingle might be one of the most underrated middles in the SuperLega. He comes up time and time again, always he is consistent. He shows up. He really levels this team out, right? Where he's a little bit older, has that veteran status. He's a little bit more even keel emotionally. So I will give it to you that Piacenza's middles are better, but they would have to utterly dominate to really get the best of Verona's middles, in my opinion.
And to like make a significant impact on the series. I agree with you there. And then this series in particular, but an important perspective for the entire SuperLega playoffs is the consequences for next year's Champions League. If you want to go to the Champions League next year, you need to take third in the playoffs, which means you have to get to at least the semifinals. And then if you lose, you have to win the third place series. One of Verona and Piacenza both have Champions League caliber rosters in their minds for next season. And if they want to play in that competition, you have to win this series right now.
Yeah, 100%. Although I will also point out that the CEV is most likely adopting a wild card team next year that is going to be randomly given out. I actually think that instead of plans, they might have wild card teams. We'll fully see, right? So that's definitely be a situation where, if either of these teams, but yeah, I'm leaning towards Verona in this one. I just think too. That like, as much as I want to see Mar succeed and make a run like he did last year, and as much as I love some of these guys on this Piacenza team, this Verona's team is so damn fun, and it's going to be the last time we see it. And it's honestly a little sad that Perugia isn't in the semifinals, because I think Perugia would be more volatile to play against Verona than a Trentino.
Yeah,
like I think stylistically Trentino kind of smothers Verona's fire, whereas like let's get Perugia
just stokes it like we saw in the Coppa Italia. That would have been a sick series if Perugia had been able to hang on to the 1 seed, but no such luck. Nomori Keita, by the way, he led the league in basically every statistical category this year. 6.05 points per set.
I think that's only the second time in SuperLega's history that someone's averaged over 6 points per set.
That is bonkers. Exactly 1 full point per set higher than the second place guy, which was Ferry Ragers. Just like, and he did it at 2 different positions. Like, one of the craziest seasons we've ever seen.
Yeah, he's.
It's special.
I can't saying it's special doesn't even cover it. It doesn't even fully encapsulate what we're experiencing with him right now. And yeah,
I want him to cement how historic the season was by having a great playoff run.
100%.
That's the icing on the cake.
That is like, and there's been discussions amongst people I know and to talk to every single day about how to make him a star. And it's really difficult because he doesn't play national team.
Right.
Like it's really difficult to make someone a star who doesn't play national team. Case in point, Isabel Hawk. Like she doesn't hold the same weight as the other ones and gets forgotten because she is irrelevant when it comes to national team season. But she's way more relevant than when it comes to Nomori Keita. So I 100% agree with you that if he can go on a run here and be the guy, like, let's remember how glazed Rand was last year in Monza's run for, having like a 12% impact on the game, right? Keita actually has a massive impact and he's a showman, right? So like, if we could get that going, it would be chef's kiss.
Hope so. The other, by the way, I know that our Discord community is in the middle of putting together the end of regular season kind of awards for all the leagues, individual players. So we appreciate the community's help doing that. We're not going to talk about those for another couple weeks at least, because there are still
No.
some leagues with regular seasons going on.
That has to be like, I almost feel like that's like its own episode in itself.
It might
like
be.
maybe,
It might be like
maybe,
in between finals and Champions League, like in May or something like that. So,
or we just rock like a Thursday sometime and see how we go.
yeah, it could be. So we're not going to get into that now. However, there was just one more number that I had to point out from the stats I was looking at today.
Hit me.
It's arguably the greatest serving season of all time from Ole Plotnitsky.
Ooh.
56 aces, led the
Okay.
league. 0.86 aces per set, which
that is filthy.
Disgusting.
That is filthy.
On
That is unconscious.
and 50 service errors, better than 1-to-1 error to ace ratio, leading the league in aces and leading the league in aces per set by a landslide. Might be the best serving season of all time. 56 aces in 65 sets.
We'll have to dive into that a little bit more, because that is absolutely astounding.
Gross.
Because so wait, he had 56 aces and how many errors?
50.
Dude, like
It's insane.
So Zhu Ting did that on the women's side, but when you look at like her numbers, she had like 11 aces and 6 errors. We'll talk about the women. Some of the women's stats are wild. We'll talk about them in a minute or two, but that is absolutely wild. Plotnitsky,
Unreal.
You know what? We were big fans of, not big fans, but big supporters of the Free Plotnitsky movement. And ultimately, I'm glad that never became a thing. I'm glad he didn't move on, because Plotnitsky has been able to prove himself on the best team in the world, right? On the number one team in the world. And not only has he been able to prove himself, as in like, I'm a starter. We've seen what happened when he gets injured.
Yeah.
Right? We saw
Yep.
you have Ishikawa and Semeniuk out there. And this team went on like a 5-game skid. Because Plotnitsky wasn't around snapping balls from the baseline and being an absolutely diabolical lefty on the left side, right? So it like, this dude, does Plotnitsky have a case to be like a top 5 outside right now?
I mean, he's clearly the two best outsides in the SuperLega this season are clearly Plotnitsky and Micheletto, and it's not even close. Like if you're talking like a first team outside hitters for the season, it's those two, and it's not even a discussion. And Micheletto is regarded to be the best player on the planet. I don't disagree that Ole has that case. That the serve is so nasty, and the movement. He does it all.
His defense, like, he is.
So
he's
just let that number wash over you. 56 aces at 0.86 aces per set and only 50 errors on the season.
That is filthy numbers.
It's
that
absurd.
Is truly filthy numbers. Yeah, absurd. That is ridiculous.
So, SuperLega playoffs, going to be real fun.
Top 3, okay, Daniel Jr. Damn.
Top 3 outside in the world. That's a hell of a discussion. Maybe that's one we can have after the season's over. Speaking of seasons being over, it's time to wrap up the Lega Volley Femminile. They caught up on Saturday, and there was some drama here as well, boys and girls. We knew the 8 playoff teams. It was actually a very similar circumstance to the SuperLega, but there was a lot of relegation drama. There was drama in the 2 versus 3 seed where Milonza jumped over Scandici because Scandici lost to Novara, so that might have implications in the playoffs. But this was on Saturday, so I wasn't watching as intently. It was my wife's 30th birthday, but I really feel for Roma, man. Real tough one for Roma to lose in 4 to Pinerolo. Firenze beats Bergamo in 5 when Bergamo had nothing to play for. Firenze survives by 1 point, and Roma, I think for the second time in 3 years, gets relegated. Just real tough for that program.
Yeah, they've been up and down for a few years. Honestly, it sucks because we need more clubs in big iconic cities.
For
A,
sure.
and then I think B, we just don't have many teams with these colors. Like the kind of reddish brown with the gold, I kind of dig, and we need to diversify. There's a lot of red, there's a lot of white,
blue.
There's a lot of blue. Now, like Roma and Valfolia, the only teams that are really holding. Oh, I guess Imoko and like Canigliano in terms of the yellow. the yellow and blue, but still, like, you know what, we're losing some good colors, and I think that's a shame.
That is a bummer. So yeah, real tough one for Roma, but to their huge credit, they did, and we'll talk about this maybe in a little bit, but they're still in Challenge Cup. They're actually in the Challenge Cup final, and like 3 days after getting like cementing their own relegation, they came out and beat Chieri in 5 in the first leg of the Challenge Cup final today. And that, like, emotionally, to do that might be even harder than like playing in a bronze medal match where you have that heartbreak from the semifinals. Just so, like, the feeling of getting relegated is so unique. Like,
Yeah,
being,
but I do think
even if you're not going to be there the following year, like, I can't imagine what that would feel like to be on a team that finishes so poorly in the regular season that you know that club that you've represented that year is moving down a level because your team wasn't good enough. Like that,
but
that
I
feeling
think
is very unique.
I think it also gives you an opportunity to leave it all on the court, right? Like,
Exactly.
there's no pressure on you whatsoever, especially since you have been relegated. Especially, Chieri has, like, they won something CEV last year. I think they won the Challenge Cup.
I think it was Challenge Cup last year too.
Right, yeah. So, like, they've been there before. They've done this before. This is a team that goes to the playoffs. This is a team that has maybe not stars, but they have known names within volleyball. And yeah, and we're able to get it done. And I think sometimes if you just don't have, like, they probably lost on Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday? It doesn't really matter.
Saturday.
Had a good cry. The girls probably went to the bar, downed a couple of jugs of wine. You know what? And they said they were probably really drunk. And one of them, probably this one right here, who honestly, I haven't watched Roma like more than 2 seconds this year. So I honestly couldn't tell you who anyone is. Probably stood up at a certain point and was like, we're not going down this way. We're not going down without a fight.
Like, yeah.
And here we are.
We have more volleyball to play.
And now we're going to get a golden set in the Challenge Cup final. I'm calling it now.
Ooh,
I didn't watch this game, and I haven't watched Roma all year, but I'm calling it now.
I watched the last 2 sets after the Champions League game earlier. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Yeah, credit to Roma for just having the grit to keep playing volleyball despite the consequences of their own relegation. But speaking of volleyball being in big cities, like Firenze is... Obviously, Florence is a big city. Scandicci is also just outside of there, but Firenze's roster was actually pretty good. They had some issues this year. They put together a team that definitely deserved to stay in the league, in my opinion, and they just barely were able to do so. But now it's playoff time in the women's league as well. Conegliano cements the perfect season, 26-0. They were 1 point shy of perfection, and they dropped 7 sets the entire year in 26 matches.
That's crazy.
It's absurd.
Yeah, that is. It is. It's honestly kind of sickening to talk about, and luckily we're not like ESPN where we just beat a dead horse and talk about the GOAT every single damn day. But it is truly what we're seeing. Not only, Rob, did they dominate this season, but something really stood out to me when I was doing some stats for the LVF today. When you're looking at attack percentage and attack efficiency amongst outside hitters in the LVF. The 4 top players, attackers in attack hitting percentage were from Conegliano, and they had 5 of the top 10 players. Yeah, it was absolute. Actually, let me pull this up here. You're
saying like 5 of Conegliano's wings were in the top 10 of hitting efficiency for wings on the season. That's a joke.
Yeah. Hitting. Oh, actually, same thing. The top 4 for hitting efficiency. Actually, they had for hitting efficiency. They had 5 of the top 6. It went Zhuting, Gabi, Khalil Lenier, Isabel Hawk, Georgia Frogini, and then
Frosini's on Busto.
Yeah. And then Adigwe Chinyenwa, the
backup
opposite.
That is crazy.
After that, Dalderop, Herbots, Mayu, and then Antropova.
Whoa.
Yeah,
obviously, Conegliano is really good. So the playoffs, by the way, Conegliano versus Bergamo.
Not only Conegliano, first and foremost, I think that has to go down to Joanna Volos.
Oh,
right?
For sure.
When you have that many setters, and this is one of my big takeaways today in terms of doing the stats for all of this, is that like there's no way to do anything with setters. Absolutely none. So like, I'm on it. Okay. But like when you see a team that five of their hitters are in the top 6 of efficiency, and that's only outsides too. Like I haven't really done it including the middles yet. So I still have to do up those stats, but like, wow, that is outstanding.
It's incredible. It does say a lot about the setting, and that's almost always Joanna Volos. So Bergamo, thanks for participating. I like their team. They are, not only do they have to play Corneliana, but Bergamo is ice cold. I think they've lost like at least 5 in a row. So that's 1 versus 8. Don't bother. Milonza versus Valafolia. I don't hate this series, especially because in the women's league, the first round, that's only best of 3. So it's not as many guaranteed matches. Chaos is a little bit more possible. However, I think that Paula Egonu alone, the way that she's playing right now, is going to be more than enough. But I don't totally sleep on Valafolia. We do both like this team.
I think for a few reasons. First and foremost, well, no, not first and foremost. I think Beachy is really good on the right side, right? Like she's been one of the like one of the better opposites all year. Simone Lee has quietly been having a fantastic year. She's like top 10 in passing, and she's also one of the best offensive left sides in the league, right? Numbers, so her numbers like points and kills per sets and points, are like she's doing better than Gabi, and passing just underneath her as well. So Simone Lee has been having an absolute fantastic year. Then you have Gaia Giovannini on the other side. Like Valafolia is a team that passes really well, right? Yep. Giovannini is one of the best. I think she's a top 5 passer in the league as well.
It's her job. That's why she made the Olympic team.
Yeah. I don't think, despite what we saw today, I don't think Milonza is that good of a serving team, right? They're not that fantastic. So yeah, I think honestly, I could see this one going 3.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. This could go the distance. Again, quarterfinals best of 3 in the Lega Volley Femminile quarterfinals. So yeah, I think there's intrigue in that series for sure. And Anna Danesi is playing awesome in the middle right now for Milonza, but I like Camila Weitzel, and I think isn't Sonia Kandi their other one who played for Milonza for years. Yeah. So I like that matchup for sure. I think this and then Chieri Novara are my favorite first round series, because I Scandici versus Busto is 3 versus 6. I don't really see much there. I don't see Busto having the ability to slow Antropova down.
No, I don't either. But like the Chieri versus Novara one is That's really good. Interesting. Yeah. I do think this one is interesting, especially when you look at the head-to-head. I'm going to pull this up on Flash Score right now, but I'm pretty sure these two teams have played each other in the playoffs last year as well. Am I?
Yeah, I think it was in the same this same round. Let's see. So they
Novara won that one in 3.
You're right.
Yeah.
They've split otherwise this season.
Yeah. Chieri won in 5 and Novara won in 3. So I'm very interested to see this one. I know Novara has been kind of working with their schedule. I think these are two teams, whereas last year they were two teams going in opposite directions, where Chieri was kind of on the rise and figuring it all out. Novara was maybe struggling a little bit more.
It's kind of the opposite right
down the stretch. Now. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a little bit opposite. Novara's like figured out a few different lineups, getting Taylor Mims into the fact. You still have Tatiana Tolok. You can play on either pin. Mayu Ishikawa has been having, arguably, like, you could put her on a first team all-star alongside Gabi if you wanted to. Like, she's been that good. Very, very efficient as well. So like, yeah, I see this one being pretty spicy, but I'm going to give this one edge to Novara for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I like the way that Novara's playing. It's also interesting that like 5 of these 8 teams that are in the playoffs are also still playing CEV in the middle of the week. So there's just a lot to juggle, and that includes both Novara and Chieri, because Novara plays THY and CEV Cup tomorrow, and Chieri just got beat today by a team that got relegated in their own leagues in the first leg of the Challenge Cup. So there's a lot going on.
Chieri especially, you got to play on the 8th, you got to play on the 11th, you got to play on the 16th. Quick things. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a lot of ball. So again, we're not going to talk about like end of season awards or anything like that. But Everett, I know today you spent some time with some Lega Volley Femminile stats, and one player in particular who is, it's not even debatable who the MVP of the league is.
No, not it's.
What stuck out to you about Ekaterina Antropova's season?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things. First and foremost, she beat the all-time scoring record in the single season all-time scoring record. Now, albeit this was a 26 match season, right? So it was longer than a few of the other seasons. So that did give her an advantage, but still, however, 569 kills on the season for Antropova, fourth all times in terms of a single season efficiency, points per set. It sucked because had she had a really good match, she could have ended second all time.
Wow, it was that close, huh?
It was that close. She went into the last match rocking as around a 6.31 points per set, and she had one of the few times where she didn't reach 20 points this season in the last match of the year. I think it was against Novara.
Yeah, they got beat by Novara in 4.
They got beat by Novara. So had she had a really good match, she would have been able to potentially catch up Agonu, who's in the second slot at 6.37. But still a fantastic offensive season for Antropova. But where Antropova really sticks out to me is the fact that she is fully an all-around player. And I wish we had Diggs to be able to show it. But she is, Rob, in my opinion, I don't even think it's a debate anymore that she is the best server in the Lega Volley Femminile history. And now this is the third year in a row that she has led the league in service aces, and this year she tied the most aces in a single season of her own record from last year at 60. So
that's so many aces. It's
so many aces.
It's hard to put in perspective just how much production that actually is. 0.65 aces per set in women's volleyball is an insane number.
Huge number, right? So a little bit under our boy Plotnitsky, who was ridiculous, but especially when you consider women's volleyball and to put in perspective, Miss Everything, the one and only Gabi had 6 aces this year. Right? Yeah, right. Zhu Ting, she's incredible, 11 aces this year. So it just kind of shows you how Antropova goes out and it just puts on that pressure. When you look at the efficiency, though, she's one of the lower on the scale of efficiency. But hey, she goes out there and you have to. If you can serve the ball like her, you absolutely got to. And then the way you round that out too is the blocks.
Yes,
9th overall in blocks in the league, but every player in front of her is a middle. So she is number 1 overall in blocks for outsides and opposites. Same things for blocks per set. She's actually 12th in league for blocks per set. However, she's number 1 when you're looking at opposites and middles. So
0.65 blocks per set for a wing is insane.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about. The all-around volume production that this woman put up for this entire season. And yes, Scandici had to lean on her. That was their play style. That was their win condition, to feed her the ball as much as possible. But I don't think we talk enough, Everett, about wing blockers and how important and useful that is to a team to be able to rely on that player to touch balls, to be in the right spot. She got 120 points this season from blocking and serving.
Yeah,
that's
massive.
Crazy.
Right. She was, and her attacking was still good, right?
Was amazing, and
she was the second
high volume.
Yeah, she was 5th in terms of most sets. She was 2nd overall in attacks, behind only Nemeth. She was 2nd or 4th, I think, or 5th in terms of kill percentage, in the top 10s of efficiency. Literally in every single category, she's in the top 10 and blows out of the water. I think one thing I missed too on the serving side is that no player in the history has been as good as a server as her. She is the fastest player to reach 200 serves, 200 aces. She's the only player to do it in under 100 matches. It only took her 98 matches to get 201 aces. And she's the only player in Lega Volley Femminile history to average at least 2 aces per match. And and in her entire career, she's averaged 2.04 aces, which no one has ever done. Right. Micah Hancock, who was the previous owner of that, she only averaged 1.86 or no 1.6 something aces per set. So just puts
aces
in
per
perspective. Aces per match. You're right, exactly.
That's truly insane. And when Micah Hancock did it a couple years ago for Novara, I think it was 50 and 50 aces and 50 errors. She did it on all time like crazy good volume and crazy serving efficiency. Antropova this year, 60 aces, 65 service errors. Like that's amazing. It's amazing. Like you could deal with 90 service errors if you're getting 60 aces. Like that would be you could deal with 100 service errors and still be happy with the numbers. 60 aces and 65 errors plus all the blocking and all the volume of attacking. Like that load that she carried this entire season is one of the great seasons I have ever seen in volleyball anywhere.
Yeah. You also have to start looking at this is going to make things really interesting for Italy too. And like you'd have to assume that she's going to start for them in the VNL this year because Agonu might not play, or like she may not play. Like we might not see, but like
it's okay. Best case scenario, you don't need to bring you have a world-class opposite and you can give the other one the week off. You can do whatever you want. It's amazing.
I mean, the week off, give her the summer off.
Give her the whole summer off.
Once you get to the World Championships, though, that's where things start getting really interesting. And maybe what's his name? The one who's that?
Velasco?
No. Before Velasco.
Oh, Mazzanti? Oh, God.
Yeah, maybe because remember, Mazzanti picked Antropova over Agonu. The numbers right now are showing, right?
It's,
like what I want nothing. I want nothing more, Rob St. Clair. I want nothing more, and we're gonna get it than a Milano Scandici semifinal. Because
we're gonna get
it. The reality is that like Antropova is on the doorstep of being let in amongst the elite.
Yep.
Right. When you're putting up numbers,
knocking at the door of that elite four in the world for sure.
100%. And maybe a certain Serbian left side is making her way out. Maybe.
Ooh,
that's just my own opinion. That's just my own opinion. But it's just like the way she's dominating in every facet of the game and doing it efficiently, incredible. So let's look forward to some of these matchups here. As you said, like I don't really know. There's one I'm excited about. That's about it.
Yeah, we'll see if there's any drama in the quarterfinals. I'm really excited about that Milonza Scandici semifinal, which we all expect. Because and we saw it last year it was dramatic, and Antropova beat Agonu in last year's semifinals. So we'll see if it happens again. Speaking of the opposite battles, Everett, what a beatdown in the CEV Champions League today, laid by Milonza upon Eczacıbaşı. This was depressing to watch this 3-donging. 74 minutes for like including all of like the charades in Champions League that they do, like all the ceremony. That's basically an hour in a shower in an elite, what's supposed to be an elite level Champions League quarterfinal game. This was one of the worst performances by a good team that I've seen in years. 18-23-14.
Yeah, I mean, I did watch this game, and it came down to a few things. The passing from Plummer or Bowden. Can we just call her Plummer? I'm sorry. I know that's your name technically now, but can we just stick with Plummer?
Everyone knows her.
And Hande Baladin was atrocious.
Terrible.
Alif Shaheen.
She can't set.
She can't set, man.
What was happening?
It was just like, but even too, like, you're a professional volleyball player. I expect you to be able to fall down and make a bump set, and she would also do random things like fall to the floor and set the slide, which like sometimes worked, but I don't know, just her delivery just wasn't there. Boskovic was scoring on like 70% tips mostly. I don't think she uncorked one all game.
When she did, she got clamped by Anna Denesi.
Yeah, exactly. Then when you look on, I think Farhad Akbas did a terrible job at managing his team. Like you bring in Alexa Gray, but at the same time you take out Sinead Jack. Sinead Jack was the only one doing anything. And like, to me, like Sinead Jack is a player who should never come off the floor because of her emotional importance. And she was making plays too. Like she was making plays before that. And then, like you brought in Alexa Gray, who actually was able to spur on the offense.
Yeah,
But
she was
then
good.
on
She had
the
a pulse.
she was good. And then on the other side, you take out Sinead Jack and put in whatever, some random Turkish girl, I can't remember who.
Beza,
And
Raja, total non-factor.
and you just get dominated in the middle, right? Like Denesi was all over them, and like Egonu couldn't do anything, and Shaheen can't set a block to save her life. Friggin', they're outside setting Miriam Silla on inside balls, and Shaheen is like getting going underneath her. The amount of times where they can't close the blocks, like, I'm sorry, like Farhad Akbas, if you can't close the blocks as a team, switch up. Like, Milonza wasn't beating you down the line; they were meeting you right down in the middle because you couldn't block. Like,
It was the worst block defense scheme volleyball game I may have ever seen. Eczacıbaşı's backcourt defense was straight up embarrassing. It was like they had forgotten how to play. Like, Simge Akos was charging, like she's charging these balls to the middle of the court and then having Egonu two hands set the ball over her head, like into the deep 5 corner and scoring on it. The miscommunication off of block touches, like the details of volleyball of a good team were just nowhere even remotely to be found, and that is on coaching. If you roll in there, Farhad Akbaş, and you have absolutely no game plan like that, dude, Farhad Akbaş is going to coach the Japanese women.
That
you think that's going to work in any way,
bro? I get to talk to him too. Like, I get to have a chat with him too in Ottawa, because that's where they are week 1. I'm pretty sure, so that should be good.
Goodness,
Rodman's hair, Chemi, is just absolutely dying right now in the chat.
Yeah, because and he's right. We said the same thing in the Discord earlier today. They have Naz Aydemir, like one of the kind of the OG great Turkish setter.
Honestly,
everybody's bad. Coaching 101, Everett. What do you do when everybody on your team is bad?
Get them all out.
You switch the setter.
Get like especially like the way, like, there's no way you could watch that game today and be like, Elise Shaheen deserves to be on the court. No reason.
No chance.
No reason why. Yeah, like it is absolutely absolute insanity to me, the fact that
brutal watching that game.
Yeah. He also just like, there's like a few times when like Egonu would do things and he would kind of like smile and be like, "Oh no," and it's just kind of like, bro, game plan against this, like.
We talked last week when we were previewing this matchup about Eczacıbaşı's blocking size, right? That should be something that they can use against Egonu. Egonu made them look invisible. Such bad block defensive game plan.
Yeah,
so bad.
It was. So hopefully Eczacıbaşı can turn it around in the second leg when they're back in Istanbul.
Correct.
Istanbul, right?
Yeah, they are.
So like, at least they have their own home fans. We know they can be pretty loud, but like I said this a lot over the years, that I think honestly the big issue with Eczacıbaşı is Simge. Like, I think she is a black hole of a libero. Like, and this is exactly why they can't have good offensive outsides, because you need your outsides to do so much of the passing load, because Simge sucks and she's a bad communicator. Like, what was that one ball that they just let drop because she thought Egonu was going to take it? It's like, no, she's one of the best damn hitters in the world. You take the second ball, just put it up for her. Like, God damn it, it's so easy. She sucks. Sorry.
I don't disagree. I thought she was horrible today. I thought Dana Retke was horrible today.
Oh man,
which is a huge bummer. Catherine Plummer was horrible today. Elif Shaheen was horrible today. Tiana Boskovic, 15 points, 13 for 31, 6 errors. Just not useful, not practical. Every ball she scored was a tip. Every time she swung, she got stuff blocked, just like you said earlier. Actually the worst game plan I think I've ever seen from a good team. And if they don't make substantial X's and O's high level volleyball changes before,
but I don't think
next 2 weeks,
his ability.
I don't think so either, dude. I don't think he's capable.
I like, once again, I'm really interested to see what he does with Japan this year, because that is going to
be a train wreck.
Also, Chemi, you're right. Like, Milano's defense was unreal.
Great. They were great.
If they can bring that kind of defensive intensity to other areas, I do think like Jolene is. I don't know where she came from.
France.
Yeah, no shit. But so she's been starting as of recent. Since her starts, she statistically is actually the best passer in the LVF. Number one in terms of in perfect passing rating, right above Gabi. So she has been fantastic, and like, yeah, I think like low key she could be up there. She could
Talking
be
about
up
a
there.
little like female Grebenikov situation here.
Yo, a little bit, but I think she's better at passing than Grebenikov.
Yeah, she's fun to watch. She's super good. I had like
she's dialed in. She's dialed in. She makes digs. She makes timely digs. She understands the flow of the game. Chef's kiss. Simple.
Also, like you said this in the Discord today, Everett. The CEV Champions League is Paula Egonu's tournament until somebody proves otherwise.
Yeah. She makes this competition her bitch.
16 for 32, one error. Absolutely automatic.
Hoodie Mello, Champions League Egonu.
Champions League Egonu is just built different.
It's like playoff Butler, you know.
If you have like if you're talking about the four elite opposites, Egonu, Boshkovich, Hawk, Vargas, you have Antropova like nipping at their heels. Then like tiers above that already is Egonu in the CEV Champions League. I don't know what happens to her in this competition, but she is magical. So yeah, I was excited about this series. I'm no longer excited about this series.
No,
it's brutal.
Yeah.
Some other CEV today. This Alba Blaj team from Romania beat Vasas Budapest in 5. Everett, I didn't watch this game. How many times do you see a team single-digit a team and lose the match? 25-9, Vasas won the third, and they lost the match.
Honestly, that just it's even more of a reason to keep moving because that is terrible.
That's tough.
That is bad.
That's tough. Shout out to Taylor Bannister, is an opposite on Vasas. She went to LSU. I had never heard of her until now. But you can't be single-digiting a team and then losing the match. That's brutal.
No.
And then we already kind of talked about the Challenge Cup game today. Roma, a lot of grit. Well done for them. They beat Chieri in 5. That makes for the next leg. It could be kind of a little more interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We've already kind of mentioned this. I do expect Chieri to be a little bit better in match number 2.
I agree. Some quick CEV news. I mean, there's a bunch more matches tomorrow. Fenerbahce Vakifbank is tomorrow. That's a must watch. THY Novara CEV Cup is tomorrow. That should be pretty good. Also, Everett, there was a rumor, not confirmed, but a rumor that the men's Champions League Final Four will go to Łódź, Poland in May.
Okay,
and I think that's a great choice.
Yeah, I thought I'd already heard a rumor about Berlin potentially.
Oh,
but yeah, we'll see. I think Łódź would be a good spot because like they don't have any like teams from that city playing. Like you could just do a straight up Final Four, right?
Yeah, it would be perfect. Plus, probably 3 of the 4 finalists are going to be Polish on the men's side. If probably seeds and matchups hold. So, we'll see if that gets formally announced by the CEV. We'll move on to actual Polish volleyball in just a minute. But first, Everett,
Papa.
Daddy Stankovic. As I was putting together the SuperLega stats today, do you know who actually among qualified players led the league in hitting efficiency this year?
Papa.
Daddy Stankovic hit 773 on the year.
773 is
733. 733 on the year. 23 kills on 30 attempts. 0 errors, blocked once. So
how many
volume?
How many attempts?
30 attempts total.
Okay.
Not much, but I mean there are other players with less attempts that didn't have that high of efficiency at all positions. So
yeah,
congratulations to Daddy.
If he was on my women's list, he wouldn't have made the cut in terms of the amount of points you needed to make these lists.
I was trying to like come up with a similar threshold, and like it was hard to consider setters and middles, but I obviously I wasn't going to not recognize Daddy for for his achievement in playing this year. If you're unfamiliar with our favorite segment, it's called Where's Daddy? And I get to Photoshop Daddy Stankovic somewhere in our show, and you'll have to try and find him. And last week, I teased that it might be an all-timer and that I wouldn't be surprised if actually nobody found him. People did find Daddy next week. Everett, I showed you after the show last week. Take a look, everybody, right now. Daddy is somewhere in this photo. We were talking about the PVF All-Star game. Daddy is somewhere in this photo. If you can't find him, I don't blame you. When you take a look even closer, if you take a look even closer, inside the mouth of the Indy Ignite mascot is the SuperLega leader in hitting efficiency, Daddy Stankovic.
That is ridiculous, dude. That is so, like, you showed it to me and I had to look for a while and then you had to tell me because, or did you? I can't remember. But.
Some of my finest work, but some of you guys did find him in real time, which I was impressed by. A young Gemini found him and Islam Tunjai found him. So well done to you guys for actually detecting this very difficult Daddy Stankovic hiding. Remember, when you find Daddy, do not put it in the live chat. Wait for the stream to be over and comment the timestamp in the main YouTube comments. That is how you deserve the shout out for next week's show. Don't put it in the live chat. Don't spoil it for everyone else, but note the timestamp and save that to comment after the show is over. That's how it works. Keep an eye out for Daddy. He is somewhere in this show. Ever, you want to talk about Poland?
Yeah. Heading over to Poland. We're now 3 games away from the end of the season. And you know what, Rob? I did a pretty good breakdown of kind of the relegation race and a whole bunch of stuff last week. However, what in my mind I thought was going to happen didn't end up happening. And I need to reset a little bit. So a few notable things. First and foremost, there was a makeup game between Zaksa and Olsztyn. Zaksa won that. So when they were at par for a second, Zaksa was actually almost at 4th for a little bit. However, they played Zawiercie last week. Didn't have a great chance, whereas Lublin, I can't remember who Lublin played.
Lublin beat Nissa.
Lublin beat Nissa. So that was kind of to be expected. Lublin still holding on to that 4th place. But the big thing for me, Rob, has to be Norwich Czestochowa holding on to that 8th place within absolutely massive, cannot be understated, season saving, I would say, win over Olsztyn.
Absolutely season saving.
They won 3
points.
Yeah, they like playoff saving. They won 3 points against Olsztyn. Not only did they get 3 points against Olsztyn, however, Olsztyn's was their number 1 competition, right? Going into that match, there was only 3-point gap between the two of them. Now it's 7 points, and it's Suwałki and Gdansk who are more so on Częstochowa's tail. Also because, Rob, too, that these two teams have very, very almost identical schedules. They both play Gorzów and Gdansk, and one of them plays Skra and the other one plays Lublin. Right, so you have almost identical schedules, and that really, I think, that win might have solidified Częstochowa's last spot in the playoffs.
I don't know about solidify, but it definitely helped. It definitely helped. And I watched that game. Quinn Isaacson, he didn't have any more tape on his fingers. The ball was coming out of his hands substantially better. It really looked like a lot closer to the Norvid that we saw in the front half of the season, to me, watching that game, which is an awesome sign if you're a fan of that team, because they were really hanging by a thread after they lost their setter. And how many games they lose in a row? At least 5?
Oh, yeah. Let me see if
it was bad for a while there, man. They really,
they definitely lost 5. Yeah, they lost 5 in a row. And in that time, they lost 5 in a row and 6 of their 7 in that run. So that was a huge
win. Patrick Indra was really good. Milada Badapur was really good. Good for Norvid. Definitely has a chance to save their season. The other one that I was interested in was Barkom Lviv, Everett, because you did such a good job setting up the relegation race. They were in that match against Suwałki last week, but couldn't take a point.
Yes.
And that could end up being really pivotal because now they trail Nissa by 5. And remember, those two teams play the last match of the year. And I think I won't say they needed a point or two last week, but it sure as heck would have helped. And they were in that match. I think they lost overtime the first set and overtime the third set, and they lost 25-23 in the fourth. Like I watched some of that game. Like Lviv was in that game and just couldn't quite steal it late. Filipiak was too much for him, but that could have big consequences.
Yeah, I mean, this one is a massive opportunity, especially since their matchup this week is against Zaksa. However, they do still have Bedzin on their schedule.
That helps.
So if maybe they can steal, like ideal situation here is, ideal situation is you beat Zaksa and you beat Bedzin, and then you hold the keys to the car, right? However, right, like if they can get the 3 points against Bedzin, they are just 2 points behind, just 2 points behind Nissa in that situation.
Nissa this weekend has JSW, so tough one there. They're unlikely to take any points.
Yeah, no, as I said, I think Nissa has they have 3 of the top 4 teams and then Lviv to finish it off. So they're going to go 0-4. I don't expect them to get any of the points. But if they do, that might actually be the other side of it. The one other team that we have to talk about here, Rob, in this round has to be Resovia. Yep. They continue to be, I think they've now won 12 in a row. They haven't lost since January 6th. And this Skra team was coming into this one with recent wins over JW and Zavierci, right? So this Skra team was coming in hot and heavy, and they dominated them once again. Like Resovia has been really turning it on of late. 11 blocks in 3 sets in this one, Rob.
Yeesh, and they did it without Bartosz Bednors.
Yeah, that's the big part of that too.
And the thing that I'm really interested to see with Resovia is, do they stick with Łukasz Kozub at the setter position? Because he played in the Skra game and he was awesome. He looked really, really good. He had that team clicking. The 11 blocks obviously helps. 8 aces to 14 errors is excellent in a 3-set game, but
you know what? I think that this team has really just created some good momentum, and that I do think that I can say one thing about Samuel Vuo teams is that once they have that momentum, like he's really good at creating momentum slowly. Like he's really good at creating like a little bit of a freight train with what he has. So this Resovia team is going to get more and more interesting until they hit the semifinals, and that's where the curse starts to happen.
You got that right. Also, the standings on the screen don't reflect a game that was played today. Katowice got donged by Ślepsk Suwałki. It is official that Katowice will be relegated. Thanks for participating. So Katowice and Benzin, bye-bye, see you later. That last relegation spot is where the drama comes in for the rest of the year. Everyone has 3 games left to play on the season, with the exception of Suwałki and Katowice, who played today.
Yeah. I do think that the match for everyone to watch is going to be on Saturday afternoon, mostly because I'm going to be commentating it.
Oh yeah, we got that locked down. Lublin versus Olsztyn. Yeah,
Lublin versus Olsztyn, which has now changed times, which kind of sucks a little bit, I think. But oh well, I'll have the afternoon one for Lublin versus Olsztyn. Will be my first time commentating PlusLiga, and it will be very hard not to bring up anything about Hadrava.
I cannot wait to listen to you commentate Jan Hadrava.
Oh man,
man, I'm going to be on you in the Discord. It is going to be awesome. I cannot wait.
The Discord is not going to be anywhere open when I do this match. Like that is not the case whatsoever.
Everyone, make sure you support. Like everyone needs to watch this match. Support Everett. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
we'll see for the community.
We'll see how she goes. But yeah, so that'll be fun on Saturday afternoon for me. So if you guys want to check it out, please do.
Do it. Check it out. I'm very much looking forward to that. Especially it's a Hadrava game that makes it so much funnier.
Yeah, I do. I am stoked though that like I get to drop some serious Finn McCarthy knowledge.
That is going to be fun.
Like I get to really deep dive into Finn McCarthy. So yeah.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, it looks like.
Yeah, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. So, yeah, should be good.
Beauty. Good luck, Mr. Delorme. That's going to be fun.
Merci beaucoup.
All right, a couple things to knock out before the end of the show here. First and foremost, congratulations to the Berlin Recycling Volleys. They won the German Cup again.
Man.
They won it in 5 over Duren. It's their 3rd in a row. As much as Berlin dominates everything in Germany, the German Cup is actually a competition that they kind of struggle at. A lot of years they get beat by Friedrichshafen in the final. Like they end up winning the league, but somehow they find a way to lose the cup. They did win the German Cup, so good for them. A bounce back after the Champions League loss to Lüneburg. And now, speaking of Lüneburg, Berlin plays Lüneburg in Bundesliga play this week, I think also Saturday. So keep an eye out for that in case you want to watch more from that crazy Champions League series.
It should be that's definitely a must watch for me next week.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Enough about that. Congratulations, Berlin. Everett, I'm curious to see how we want to attack this conversation here. What you see on the screen is an altercation that happened in the Japanese SV League between Osaka Blue Dion and the Tokyo Great Bears. Matsuya Muzai, the Polish opposite for Tokyo, allegedly made some comments through the net to Miguel Lopez of Osaka.
Oh, it's not that alleged. Like,
it's not alleged.
It was heard on the broadcast.
You could hear it on the broadcast. So I watched the video and I couldn't hear anything in particular. But Muzai did get suspended for game 2 of the series, and he might get suspended longer by the league for, we don't have to say allegedly. He said something racist to Lopez through the net.
Yeah, he called him a monkey.
Did he actually?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. So I guess basically, essentially what happened was that allegedly Matsuya Muzai was speaking Portuguese to Lopez. Lopez has spent the past few seasons playing for Sada Cruzeiro. He is of Spanish origin. There's a lot of things there that are similar. And that's why at first they're kind of going at each other, and you see Iro kind of stepping in, and they're all kind of just like laughing because these two are jawing at each other in a language that no one else speaks, right? And then once you I'm pretty sure what happened is Muzai said it in English, and in the video you see Jeschke snap.
Yes, that's exactly what I saw in the video. Thomas Jeschke went from laughing to pissed,
and he went over and was immediately like, absolutely not. I'm not going to say that I'm not surprised, but like, I'm kind of not surprised. Like, not that I had any inclinations or like anything previous with Muzai. It's just like I was aware of it literally as soon as it happened, and immediately there was discussions about like, hey, like how do we cover this? But immediately and it happened, I'm pretty sure, like Friday night it happened on the Friday night match too, and I was pretty toasted at that point as well. It was 3 of my friends' birthdays, so the shots were flying, and it was so it was very apparent kind of what happened, and like the suspension was immediate.
Yep.
Right, like the suspension was like the match was done, and he's suspended for tomorrow, and let's kind of see what happens moving forward. I would be very surprised if we saw Muzai for the rest of the season, to be honest. Like I might see just having him get like lose his contract because of that.
Honestly, good, because it's 2025. It's ridiculous that we even have to have this conversation. Like, obviously not something that you can say ever to anybody. You can't say it on the court in a professional volleyball game. Completely unacceptable. I love Thomas Jeschke coming to his defense. That's the thing that really stuck out in that video to me, because I couldn't hear what was being said, was the way that Thomas Jeschke stood up for Miguel Lopez. And
yeah, he just hits that snap. Yeah. And it's just like, I love talking through the net. I love the boys. I love it too. Each other. I love that. Like, I come from hockey. Like, we shit talk. That's absolutely what to do. If you ever taken a face off as a winger, you're side by side, shoulder to shoulder. That's why boys fight right off the bat. But like, this is just absolutely unacceptable. It's 2025.
We need to be better than this. We shouldn't even be having this conversation. It's insane.
Yeah. Especially when like you're talking to a player who's way better than you. Right? Like that's like it's not even a competition about who's better, like on these two teams. So Muzai should just shut the fuck up, sit the fuck down, learn how to fucking hit a ball properly without your fucking wonky ass arm swing.
Which you can't do.
And I don't really want to see you in volleyball again. So
well, it's not like he's relevant internationally anymore. Hopefully he stops getting any looks on the Polish national team, which he doesn't deserve, independent of this incident. So as if I needed any more reasons to dislike the guy.
I mean, like, if you look at, like, come on, with like Bolange and Butrin and whoever else. Like, give me Kluth before you give me Mujai. Like,
For
fuck.
sure. Enough about this incident. Unacceptable. If there are any consequences that matter in the grand scheme of things, we'll talk about them, but I don't think there will be. Let's talk about North America a little bit before we wrap up the show. League One wise, week 8 in the books. A little bit of signs of life from Madison. League One Madison. I think they won both their matches over the weekend. Let me double check that. Yeah, they beat Omaha 3-1 and they beat Austin 3-0. They're still at the bottom of the standings, but it's a lot more compelling than it was before. So better volleyball from them. Houston got donged by Salt Lake, but Houston played the bench. So my pick for the title is I'm not worried about them. And then Atlanta beat Omaha in 5, which looked like a good match. But I didn't watch very much, so I have no more to really talk about here, Everett, unless you have something to add.
I unfortunately have not been watching League One this year, which is like a little bit of a shame. But
I watched Thursday night. Like I watched some Thursday night Houston Salt Lake, but again, Houston played the bench, so it wasn't a very good game.
The only thing I saw is that one clip of Lauren Carlini who dug one off her head.
That was sick.
That was dope.
That was sick. I'm glad that got some like legit social media traction. That was a cool play.
It did. Yeah, it did. On the PVF side of things, if we want to touch it over there, we see that once again, we have a new league leader. And I mean, like Indy's led the league. Omaha's led the league. Vegas has led the league. Orlando is now leading the league for the first time in their franchise history. They are rocking a 10-game winning streak. And like they went out there and they're rocking a 10-game winning streak, Rob St. Clair, or 9-game. Maybe
I will find out for you. Keep telling us the stories.
They did it by outstanding fashion this weekend. First and foremost, a nice little 3-dong at Omaha, which like now we're starting to learn that like Omaha isn't only one of the best crowds in the PVF. It's literally one of the best crowds in the entire fucking world when it comes to home crowds and women's volleyball.
Orlando's won 8 in a row, by the way.
They've won 8 in a row. Awesome. Thank you. So they've won as many games in a row as they've won last season. Once again, last season, they were 8-16. So yeah, a nice little 3-dong over Omaha, who was previously the number one team going into this one. Brittany Abercrombie. I don't know if you can say much more about her. She's been on an absolute bonanza of a tear. She won Athletes Unlimited.
Yep, she won AU. That's right.
Whatever. But in this one, in a 3-dong, 25 points. 24 for 42 attacking with a 524 efficiency.
Whoa.
She had a block and she led her team in digs with 13, right? Fast forward to Sunday. They play at Atlanta. Now Atlanta is actually a good team. They just haven't really been able to get things together. But you've got some really good players, including reigning MVP Lee Edmond. They go up 2-0. Do the vibe, and Edmonds having a good game. Merritt Beeson, who's the first overall pick, is having a good game. They even have Pia Timmer, who's been going off. But at a certain point, too, after the 0-2, Orlando comes back and they reverse sweep Atlanta to be able to keep the streak alive. Once again, Brittany Abercrombie, 26 points in 5 sets. She was 25 for 51 with a 431 efficiency.
Wow.
1 block, no aces, but leads her team with 23 digs. So this weekend for Brittany Abercrombie, she had 51 points and 36 digs, rocking like a 450-something efficiency, which is absolute bananas. And to me, like we did see Lekator member Mene come back for Indy, and to me before member Mene was going to be the MVP. Indy unfortunately did suffer. Was it a loss? Yeah, they lost.
They split this weekend, right?
Yeah, they beat Vegas, and then they lost to Omaha. Lekator member did return for that match, but Omaha was able to take it down and regain hold of second place. So now those
are gnarly numbers by Abercrombie. Like that is insane, especially in a league that you don't see that kind of scoring at that high of efficiency. You see a lot of digs and continuations, but
100%.
That's pretty sick. The other thing that stood out to me was Grand Rapids beating Vegas. That was pretty surprising, and they did it with 18 blocks. 18 blocks in a 3-set match. That's gross.
Yeah, Vegas, who was like the previous darlings, and all these people were getting mad at me on Volleyball World USA because it seemed like I was always talking about Vegas, but they pulled a bit of an egg this week, losing to Indy, and then getting 3-donged by Grand Rapids to kind of come back to earth a little bit. I think people are starting to figure out their lineup a little bit, so we'll see what kind of adjustments they make. But for me, one of the big stories also has to be San Diego, who were previously in the basement. They hosted Grand Rapids. There was a nice little meeting of the basement down there with San Diego, Grand Rapids, and Columbus. And to me, like, there is a definitive divide in this league. And there's not saying that the teams can't beat each other, because we've seen like literally all of the bottom teams get a win against a top team at a certain point. But there's just a definitive divide between what Columbus, Grand Rapids, and San Diego can bring to the table compared to the top 5 teams. And to be honest, it's a little sad that one of them is going to be able to miss out, because it's going to be missing out, because I think they're all pretty good. I think that's all I really have to talk about on the PVF side of things right now.
Solid. Well done. Good breakdown. Quick look at men's NCAA. There were a couple games that I watched over the last week, and those were UC Irvine going out to the islands to kick off conference play against Hawaii, and they got 6-donged.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Hawaii's
wild.
Good, bro. Hawaii is good, and they were good when I saw them in person when I was there a few weeks ago. But they're playing with even more confidence. They're serving the ball lights out. Tread Rosenthal needs to be talked about as there are 3 elite setters in the NCAA. Moni Nikolov is on another planet. Tread Rosenthal should be very much in the conversation with Andrew Rowan about like that caliber of a setter and that caliber of a prospect. The thing too is that he's 18. He came in last year as a 17-year-old and took the starting spot as a true freshman. Then in the offseason, he grew 2 inches. He's now 6'10" on the roster. And his actual setting is improving significantly match by match. And the dude is a weapon. He obviously is offensive. He's a terrific blocker and server. But keep an eye on Tread Rosenthal at the setter position for Hawaii for sure. They look awesome. And now that we're into conference play, it's about to start getting real interesting. Hawaii and Long Beach are going to play. UCLA, USC, and BYU are going to play each other. UC Irvine is still good. Cal State Northridge is ranked 7th in the country, which is crazy. And the thing that I want to point out here that's a huge bummer, Everett, is that the top 8 teams in the country right now are all West Coast teams, and they're in 2 conferences. They're either in the Big West or they're in the MPSF. The way that the NCAA tournament is set up, there are going to be 9 teams this year, 7 auto bids from their conference winners, and 2 at-larges. That means at most of those 8 teams who are the best 8 teams in the country, at most 4 of them will make the NCAA tournament. There are going to be very good teams left out of the NCAA tournament because the format is so bad.
So, Rob, I'm a little bit disappointed that you have the AVCA rankings up, because I feel like you would be jumping on the traders poll.
I am in on the trader poll.
I thought you were, and so I'm going to break down the trader poll right now, which goes Long Beach at 1, UCLA, Hawaii tied at 2, UCI at 4, SC at 5, CSUN at 6, BYU at 7, Loyola Chicago at 8, Pepperdine at 9, and then McKendree at 10.
I like that.
Still not much East Coast representation there, though. But like,
this is the honestly, worst EIVA year in years. By the way, the EIVA is terrible this year.
Yeah. Also, I should do a uSports update, and I haven't.
I was actually going to ask you about uSports. Isn't it conference tournament time ish?
Yeah, it has been one of the wildest playoffs with the most upsets I've ever seen. For the first time in I don't know when, neither Trinity Western nor McMaster will be at nationals.
Is that confirmed or just projected?
Oh yeah, no, they're both out. They're both done.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's the first time since 2009 that Trinity Western won't be there. Mac, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, they're both going to be gone. We've seen so many upsets across the country just this past weekend. On the women's side, Sask number 8 upset UFV number 1. Over in the AUS, we saw Memorial Women upset Dalhousie in the semifinals of the AUS, and then got absolutely slaughtered by SMU. Queens, the top ranked team on the women's side, lost to Toronto. in the OUA in the first round. And then Toronto just got trounced by McMaster this past weekend. So yeah, I believe if I'm doing this off the top of my head correctly, the men's final is Queens versus Windsor, which is kind of what everyone expected it to be. Windsor has done a pretty good job, and they have a pretty good team this year. Queens, they're not the last year's team because they don't have Eric Sisna, but they've got a lot of good pieces. They went down. They were actually went to 5 against Western, which if you know anything about the rivalry between those two schools, the fact that they went to 5 in an OUA semifinals is absolutely gangbusters. And the crowd at the Arc was absolutely crazy. Because Western even upset Toronto to be able to get there into there too. The Canada West, let me pull it up right now. Canada West men's volleyball.
So are we still looking at okay, I'm looking at it right now too. The conference tournaments, the conference finals, are still this weekend for the men, right?
Yes, exactly. So the championships are going to be this weekend. Usually in the past for Canada West, it was always going to be a home and home, but now it's actually going to be I'm pretty sure it's a 1-game series. It's
nice.
It's a 1-game matchup. So Sask is going to be taking on Winnipeg, and then UBC is going to be taking on Alberta. I don't know if anyone's going to be touching Alberta this year. I know Winnipeg has been fantastic. Big, massive shout out to my boy Chris Voth, rejuvenating that program and just coming in and having a huge season in his first year as a first-year head coach. But yeah, that when you look at this Alberta team, it's majority. You still have Heslinga, you still have all the boys basically. So no one's going to touch them. There's a very big difference between pre-COVID teams and post-COVID teams, and Alberta had that ability to train throughout, and they're still holding on some of those old era guys, and they haven't really reset yet. And they're still really damn good. So yeah, that's my call.
All right, it looks like Queens versus Windsor OUA, Laval versus Sherbrooke RSCQ. Does that sound right?
Yeah, pretty standard.
Is Sherbrooke still good? I remember they went to the final last year.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Sherbrooke is that you're always going to see this with Quebec teams, is that they're pretty good until they're older on, because all of those guys are reaching to be 25, 26 now, and they've just been playing university, college and university ball for so long, because they get to play the 3 years of Cégep, and then they play 5 years. Their bodies are just
so much time.
It's so much volleyball. It's so much time.
Crazy.
And this is honestly one of the reasons why we don't see really good players come out of Quebec all that often, because all the best players, if you're looking Carl de Grand Prix or anyone like that, or they did lose what's his face? Why am I blanking on his name? He played at Montreal too. Shit, it doesn't really matter. He's playing in Finland right now and having a pretty good year as well. So they did lose some of their guys, but yeah, I think this is Alberta's show, to be perfectly honest. So,
are you calling the finals again?
No one answered my messages.
Bummer.
Which sucks, because I'd love to go to Brandon and do that stuff, and I've had a lot of love for that program. But I think on the administrative side, maybe things didn't.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about the men's NCAA final last either, which I did last year. So
yeah.
Who knows?
Also, if I'm going to be doing PlusLiga playoffs potentially, that'll pay way more, than
and you get to sit at home. That'll be a nice part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, tune into Everett's game on Saturday on VBTV, Lublin versus Olsztyn. Everett on the mic. That'll be fun. We'll be back next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday. I guess we'll see. We'll have a lot of Champions League to catch up on. We'll have the first round of Italian playoff games are up this weekend. So that's a very fun season for ball, and we are here for you. Make sure you join the Volleyball Source Discord. The link is in the description. I need more cold meds, so I'm out of here. Everett, I love you, and I love all you people as well.
Adios, les amis. On se voit la prochaine fois.
I don't know what that means.